If you're constantly feeling stressed out and overwhelmed, trying to figure out how to do all the things that you need to do for your mom life and for your business, stay tuned because that is what we're chatting about today. Hi, I'm Andrea Fry of Sparkle with Grace, and welcome to the Productive Biz Mom. In this video, I'm going to talk to you all about how to be less stressed and find more joy throughout your day, no matter how busy, chaotic, or crazy things are. I'm a mom of three little kids, all the way from ages 5 to 1, and I have been through it all. This is so stupid. Stop. I have three kids under the age of 5, so I'm definitely no stranger to the chaos. And throughout this crazy journey of running an online business and being their full time caregiver, I have picked up a few tips and tricks that I'm going to share with you today. Because honestly, I was sick of being that mom that was stressed out all the time, snapping at everybody, and really just kind of miserable. It took me a few minutes to realize that this is what I wanted to be doing. I wanted to be home with my kids, but I also wanted to be running a business. So I wanted to figure out a way to be able to do both things without constantly being grumpy and snapping at everyone all the time. So today I'm going to give you my 8 best tips for living with less stress and more joy and managing your time so you can be more productive. Okay? So the first tip that I have for you today is to make a list of your priorities. Now, this is different than a to-do list, and I think this distinction is super important to understand because when we write what we call a to-do list right now, it's usually more like a brain dump, and it's this big, giant list of all the things that we have to do for the house, for the business, for the kids, everything. And we write it all down, and then we look at it like, whew, okay, better get started on this to-do list. But really, a lot of that stuff, we never actually intend for it to have to be done today. But our brains are freaking out because the list is so long that we feel like we can't even get any of it done. So why even try? That is honestly one of the biggest things that's probably holding back your productivity. So, first of all, make this list and brain dump if you have to. Make the big, long, crazy list of all of the things that have to be done. But then I want you to take things out of there and make those into your priority list. So pick the top few things that you're going to do today and write those on your priority list, okay? It's fine to keep the rest of the list around for reference, but if you just have some time to look at things and work on something and you look at that giant list, you're not going to get very much done because you're going to be so overwhelmed. Okay, so that leads us right into tip number 2, which is tackle your to-do list strategically, okay? This is super important because if you go throughout the day just randomly trying to check things off your big long list, you're not going to get anything done. Or if you do get things done, you're still not going to feel like you're making that much progress. So when I say to use your to-do list strategically, first of all, I mean, go back to step 1 and pick out those priorities. So whatever is on your priority list, then you want to do that strategically. So if there's things on the list that you need to really focus on and not be interrupted, make sure you do those things at a time where you can sit and focus. So if you have super little kids like I do, sometimes that has to just be when they're sleeping. I'm not a morning person, so I will be up late after they're in bed. Or if you're lucky enough to have kids that actually nap, you can use nap time for focus work too. But I also don't want you doing things like the dishes or the laundry and things like that if your most important priority happens to be a business deadline. Because all you're going to do then is be more stressed out doing all these other things, knowing that you have this deadline that you may or may not meet. And that is just going to make you more stressed and more likely to snap at everyone around you. So don't just go through your list, but do it strategically. Make sure you sort out those priorities. If there are deadlines coming up, do those things first. Don't procrastinate until the end because then you're just going to set yourself up for being even more stressed. The next idea is to plan ahead, but prepare to be flexible. So moms of little kids know you can make all the plans in the world you want, and at the last minute, somebody is going to lose a shoe, or you're not going to be able to find your car keys, and now you're late, or something like that. It's pretty much common knowledge that the more you plan for something, the more you expect or need it to go perfectly, it absolutely won't. So that doesn't mean, though, that we're not going to plan at all. Planning ahead doesn't mean that every single minute of your day has to be scheduled out, but it is a good idea to spend some time the night before looking ahead at your day and planning out the certain things that you need. So if you are going to be taking kids to school or an activity or something like that early in the morning, it's a good idea to plan ahead. Make sure you know where those car keys are, speaking from experience. Make sure everyone has 2 shoes and they're by the door. If you need to pack lunches, do those kinds of things ahead of time so that you're not struggling and trying to remember everything and get it all done as you're rushing out the door. The next thing that is going to help you be less stressed and find more joy in your days is to set reasonable deadlines for yourself. So if that is in your business, if you are especially working for yourself and you're not taking on client work, it can be easy to honestly waste time doing these projects because they don't have a deadline. So you can get started and you can work on it a little bit here, a little bit there, if you feel like it, if you don't feel like it. And sometimes these projects can expand way longer than you actually need because you haven't set a deadline. So if that is the case for you, set a deadline for the next project that you're going to start, even if you don't really need to have one. But having that is going to really help your brain to focus and get more right into working instead of wasting time scrolling on Facebook or things like that when you actually need to be focusing. All right, this next one, number 5, is a hard tip for me to say because this has not always been the reality of my life. But number 5 is to ask for help when you need it or to accept help when it's offered. Now, I say this is a hard one for me because as a military family, we live across the country from family. I don't have access to grandparents or cousins or anybody that can really help out as part of the family. And for a long time, I didn't have the money to spend on a babysitter so I could work on my business. And then it was such a catch-22 because I needed more time to do the activities to grow my business. But in order to get more time, I needed to pay somebody to help me. But to pay somebody, I needed my business to be more profitable. And so it went around and around and around on this endless cycle until finally I decided to get creative and make some things happen. So if you are able to have somebody come and help you with the kids for a little while, or if you really need help with some of the housework or the cooking or other things like that to free you up to have more time to work on your business, I would highly encourage you to do that. So if you have access to people who can do that for free, or you can make a switch with somebody. So I watch your kids for a couple hours on Mondays and you can watch mine for a couple hours on Tuesdays. Do something like that. The fact that you can't necessarily spend money on childcare does not have to hold you back. There are other ways that you can get creative too. So recently we joined a gym and they had childcare at the gym. And I quickly found out that I don't need to exercise for 2 hours. So I would go and exercise for 1 hour maybe, and then use the rest of the time to work on my business. Now, if you are able to hire somebody to come help you, have a nanny or a babysitter, even if it's just for a couple hours. If you're in this messy middle phase where you are kind of feeling stuck and you're not able to grow your business, or if you're in a phase where your kids are little and they just need you all the time, then it is going to be really, really helpful to get some help. And I just want to say there's no shame in asking for help. I think as moms, a lot of times we feel like we have to be able to do it all and handle it all. And asking for help is a sign of weakness or something like that. I finally realized, and I'm here to tell you, nobody's coming to give us a badge for doing everything all the time on our own. That the only thing you gain from that is feeling stressed out and burnt out and frustrated. So if you resonate with any of that, this is your task for today. Go find some help. All right, tip number 6 is take advantage of technology in moderation. So if you've been hanging around on my channel for any amount of time, you know right now that I'm not against screen time, but I also don't want my kids to turn into screen zombies who are just watching endless hours of TV. So I do use screen time strategically, especially when I am by myself and I don't have help or access to somebody to come over and help with the kids. I will, for example, if I'm on a Zoom call, I will set the kids up with a movie and have them sit and watch their show so that I can focus and be fully present on a Zoom call. But the important thing is to make sure you reserve that technology time for when you really need it. So when you do have that time, either make sure that you're doing something, one of your focus tasks, or something that you really don't want to be interrupted for, and make it a set amount of time. So the next thing, number 7, is to use the Pomodoro technique. Now, I am definitely going to do a separate video on the Pomodoro technique because I'm obsessed with it. But it is definitely one of my favorite productivity hacks because the concept is you work really hard for 20 to 25 minutes and then you take a 5 to 10 minute break. And then you get right back in and you focus, and then you take another break. I like the Pomodoro method because especially when you have a lot going on and you have smaller pockets of time, it really helps you stay focused and work on something for a short amount of time and then reward yourself knowing you have a break. Even if you just use that break to step outside and get some fresh air, it really helps to kind of reset things in your brain and get you ready and focused and ready to keep getting more work done. All right, the last tip I have for you today, number 8 tip for feeling less stressed and more joyful, is to be intentional about your time. And this means owning your decisions that you're making as a business owner, as a mom, as a wife, whatever the case may be. And I mean that if I'm going to take some time and I'm going to sit and scroll through Facebook, I'm not doing that because I'm just like trying to check out. I will intentionally decide, okay, I'm just going to relax and check in for a little bit. Now, that's different than I have a bunch of things to do and I need to get all this stuff done and I'm so overwhelmed and stressed. I'm just going to sit here and scroll on Facebook because that's easier. So do you see what I mean? Owning your decisions of what you're going to do and being intentional with your time. That is going to help you overall feel less stressed because you don't feel guilty then when you do take some breaks, when you do take time to do things for yourself. Or honestly, if you are intentional and you decide, you know what, today I'm not going to work at all. We're going to go to the zoo. We're going to do all this fun stuff. You're not going to feel guilty then about, oh, I didn't get all this work done. I had things to do. No, none of that. I need you to be intentional about your time and own your decisions. It does not have to be a perfect balance all the time. Motherhood and running a business, both things can be a little bit crazy, a lot unpredictable. And the main thing is just be intentional with your time and then own your choices about that so that you don't constantly beat yourself up for not getting as many things done as you wanted or when things don't work out as easily as you were hoping. I hope you've gotten some great ideas for feeling less stressed and more joyful. Now, go ahead and like this video if this was helpful and subscribe to the Productive Biz Mom channel here on YouTube. The most important thing at this point, though, is not to just hear this list and think, oh, that sounds great, and then keep doing things the way you're doing. The only way things are going to change, the only way you're going to feel less stressed is by actually taking action and implementing some of these strategies. I would love to hear which ones work the best for you or any other ideas that you have. Go ahead and drop them in the comments below. I'll talk to you soon.